right, everybody, welcome back to Gonzo, Mike, and a VCR. I'm Gonzo.
And I'm Mike.
So we're going to look at some movies. Again, we're still in the 80s, Michael. We're looking at some of the best and worst. We're going to give you our take, make a recommendation, and then we'll make a rating. We'll give you a rating on each movies. We don't always agree, but it is what it is. So um, let's get started, man. Is your cell phone silenced, Michael?
It is off.
All right. So in this episode, this is one of my picks, one of my proud picks, Michael, and it is we're going to discuss probably the most highly acclaimed movie that we hit so far. This is a 1986 war film written and directed by Oliver Stone. The movie is Platoon. Now, what's so interesting about this film was based on Stone's experiences as a U.S. infantryman in Vietnam, and he really it said is intended it to counter the vision of war portrayed by John Wayne's The Green Berets, which was corny as all hell. Had you ever seen that one, Mike?
I haven't seen it. I heard him talk about it a lot when I went to boot camp in
Yeah,
the Marine Corps.
yeah, I wouldn't, but it's just a John Wayne movie, and it's not a Western. That's think of it that way. So Platoon made 137.9 million at the box office. That's pretty big. That's probably the biggest one that we've looked at besides Karate Kid, I think, and with a budget of only 6 million. So it did very well. It was the first Hollywood film written and directed by a veteran of Vietnam War, and this was the third highest grossing domestic film of 86, nominated for 8 Academy Awards. That's huge. And it won four. The biggest one, it won Best Picture, then Best Director for Stone, Best Sound, Best Film Editing. Now, there are four others that they didn't win, but they got the nominations. One was Best Screenplay, one was Best Cinematography, and the other two were two for Best Supporting Actor for Tom Berenger and Willem Dafoe. So that's pretty big. You got two Best Supporting Actor nominations in one film. I don't know if there's another film like that, right? So Best Picture, that's big stuff, right? 1989, the American Film Institute placed it at number 83 on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies poll. So that's pretty big. They're saying it's on the top 100, and this is out of the blue. Remember Siskel and Ebert?
Oh yeah.
So Roger Ebert, Gene Siskel, both of them gave it 4 out of 4 stars. That's crazy. Never
Has that
happens.
ever happened before?
I don't know. I don't know. And it's an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, which actually for this movie, I think probably from being best picture getting that award, I think that's probably even lower than I thought it would be. Right. Um,
Yeah.
so since this is my pick, I'm going to explain the plot for those who haven't seen it or those who haven't seen it in a long time, right? And if there's anything that I miss, I'm sure you'll catch me up, right? So here's the deal. This plot. There's a guy named Chris Taylor. He's a young college guy. He drops out of college. He joins the army. He says he wants combat. He says he wants to be in the infantry, and he goes ahead and he enlists. And back then, like everyone he's in his every not the non-commissioned officers, but every enlisted grunt there in his unit basically was drafted, right? He's like the odd man out. They think he's crazy for it. So he gets there, and he gets put in this unit, some 25th Infantry Division, and they're in operations up near the border of Cambodia, in Vietnam, in very active situations. So he gets his squad leader is going to be Sergeant Elias, that's played by Willem Dafoe, and he's like a caring guy, and he's going to make sure he takes care of his people and wants people to get a chance to make it, not just use them as cannon fodder, being the new people. And on the other hand, the platoon sergeant is Staff Sergeant Barnes, that's played by what's his name, Derringer. What? Wait,
Yeah, Tom Berenger.
Berenger. I'm sorry, I'm losing it there. So he's played by Barnes, and they've got a lieutenant who's sort of like a knucklehead, who's a newbie, doesn't know what he's doing, and so these NCOs are basically running the show here. And there's a couple other NCOs involved. We'll talk about it, but the bottom line is, it's like the good and evil. Berenger is like really, just a down and dirty person. He cares about his people, but he does the war relentlessly a certain way. And Defoe is more of an idealistic person. And both of these sergeants, sort of Chris, our young, that's Charlie Sheen plays Chris. he's pulled between, like, do I like this guy? Who should I follow? He ends up leaning towards Defoe, but they get into some ambushes. Chris gets a slight injury, comes back from it, becomes a part of the platoon, gets a little experience under his belt, and then they get into some serious firefights. They at one point, someone in they come across a bunker and a little compound. And what happens is there's some booby traps there. Some of their guys get killed. One of their guys who was out on perimeter as they were checking through the compound gets taken, a guy named Manny, and he disappears. They can't find him. Later down the road, they found that he had been taken by the bad guys and killed and strung up on a tree, like to mock them, and they are upset. So what happens is they get orders to go down range a little bit to a village a couple clicks away, and they find all sorts of weapons and ammunition and food in this village. Like, this is supporting the North Vietnamese army. And they're upset because they just had a guy get blown away by a booby trap, a guy named Sal. Then Manny was just like abducted, and they're upset. What happens is they start tearing through this village. The morals sort of go out the window for some of the guys. And what happens is, to try to get information from the head of the village, um, uh, 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 Sergeant Barnes goes ahead, and he commits a war crime, murders the guy's wife, and then is holding the gun up to the guy's daughter's head. Elias comes in, breaks this thing up because he was down there off looking for Manny before they knew they found him. He shows up to the village late, and Elias is like, "Are you crazy? Stop! What are you doing?" The LT didn't stop it, so Elias breaks it up and then gets in a fight with Barnes right there. And then the platoon sort of splits right there. The guys who are Barnes' side, the guys who are Elias's side. So bottom line is, Elias reports it. He tells the company commander when they're back at base camp. He says, "Hey, there was an illegal shooting," and he said, "Hey, we'll look into it. You guys need to cut it out. No more fighting." He said, "If there was an illegal shooting, someone's going to get court-martialed. I guarantee that. We're going to investigate it." And so Barnes right there and his crew of guys, he's thinking, you know what? I'm not trying to get in trouble here, right? So the next operation they go in to, there's Elias and a couple of other soldiers, including Chris, are after there's a big ambush on their company. They're going to go do some flanking maneuvers, go through the jungle and try to stop the enemy from flanking them. And Elias runs ahead, does his own thing, gets separated from the group. The whole company, their platoon, and the rest of the company start to pull out of this compound because they're just getting their butts whooped here. And so Barnes is like, Chris Taylor is like, "Hey, Sergeant Elias is out there. I got to go get him." Barnes is like, "Get yourself back to the pickup where there's a church there where the helicopters are picking him up." And he says, "I'll take care of Elias. I'll go find him." Now, Elias is out there shooting up the bad guys. Finally, he's on his way back. He runs into Barnes. He has a sigh of relief because he thought it might have been a bad guy tracking through the jungle that he was going to have to deal with. He smiles, gives that sigh of relief, and Barnes is like, "Yep, this is the guy who's going to report me for that illegal shooting." So Barnes shoots him right there, turns around, comes back, says, "Hey, Elias is dead. I couldn't get his body. He's dead. He's back there. He's dead." And they evacuate. On the way out of there, they see Elias is running through the fields. He actually didn't die. Barnes shot him 3 times, but he didn't die. And now he's being chased by like what looks like a whole company of North Vietnamese. And they shoot him dead. They try to give cover, but he gets killed. And Chris looks at Barnes and he's like, "I thought you said," like he's thinking in his head, "You said he was dead." And Barnes just gives him a look like, "Yeah, whatever," right? And so next they get moved into a different area. Chris wants to he wants to frag Barnes. That's what they call it, to kill someone. He said we should kill him. He gets into a little fight with Barnes at one point, and Barnes puts him down. And it's a great scene there. We'll talk about that. But the bottom line is, the next time they get overrun, they're in a bad situation. Their whole battalion perimeter is getting overrun. Everything's going crazy. And there's like a whole division of North Vietnamese coming through, and things go crazy. The perimeter is broken. It's just a melee. And Barnes and Chris end up running into each other. Barnes is just about to kill Chris with an entrenching tool when after throwing Chris down in the middle of all this fighting, because he's thinking, hey, Chris is going to tell, hey, he said Barnes, right? He can get him in trouble too. And then, but the battalion command post got blown away. So the company commander, he's like, hey, we need an airstrike, drop it right on top of us. And we'll just hunker down and try to get through this. And that airstrike comes through and that stops Barnes. It just like blows Barnes and Chris off each other. And Chris wakes up. He's alive. In the morning, the battle's over, and he sees Barnes. He picks up an AK-47, and Barnes says, "Go ahead, do it," because he's looking at him like, "Man, you tried to kill me last night." And we don't think he's going to do it. At least I didn't, because he's the good guy, and he was leaning towards Sergeant Elias, but he went ahead and plugs him 2 or 3 times in the chest, kills him, and he had an AK-47 he picked up, so no one's even going to know that it was an American who did it, right? So, and that's the end of the movie. Leaves Vietnam because it's his second injury, and he's going to never forget the war, and it changed him forever. So, does that sound good, Mike?
It does. The only thing I would add, and it's not anything that you left out, but you didn't talk a lot about the lieutenant, but I think that was accurate. The lieutenant theoretically is supposed to be in charge, and I'm not sure, was he a boot lieutenant? I think he was a boot lieutenant.
Yeah, I don't know that they showed that right off, but yeah, the lieutenant is a bonehead, right?
Yeah,
I've got him listed. We're going to talk about him. There's a couple of knucklehead things, but yeah, the lieutenant's not running this platoon at all.
yeah,
It's basically Barnes is doing what he wants with the
sure.
help of with Sergeant McNeil, another couple of guys, right? So, all right,
Yeah.
anything else on that?
No, no, that's it. But like you said, you briefly mentioned him, but there's a reason for that because he's not really the leader of the platoon.
No, not at all. He's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
But so first take, I know this, I've seen this before because it's my pick. So definitely, I saw this with buddies in high school. I remember this, and I don't know that he'll remember it. He's a listener though. My buddy JB, we were trying to figure out something to do one day, and he said, "Hey, we're gonna go see this movie." And we got in his car and we went down to I think DC or Bethesda, Maryland, and went to one of those movie theaters. They just have one screen. It's one movie at a time. I remember, and not one of those big ones where there's like 10 theaters in one, just one of those old fashioned ones. We go
Mhm.
in there and like JB had heard about this and took us down there. Said, we got to see this movie. And we all just watched it right when it came out. It was like fresh when it came out. So definitely saw it. Had you seen this one before, Mike?
Dude, I would have bet you money. I would have bet you money that I had seen this movie before. I have definitely seen parts of it before. I thought I'd seen the entire movie, but I know I haven't seen it because last night when I was watching it, I thought that the movie ended right around the time that Sergeant Elias was killed by the VC, like you said, after being shot and left dead by
Yeah,
Staff Sergeant Barnes. So I think I probably saw this or parts of it at a buddy's house,
I
and we
fell
were
asleep.
probably headed out. I don't know, man.
Okay,
But there's like a whole nother 45 minutes or an hour that happens. And like you said, there's a lot that happens within that.
sure.
So no, I had purchased the movie when Amazon had it on sale for like $3 or $4. So I had it in the chamber ready to go.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So what was your first take on it, man? At first take, seeing it all the way through, then.
Yeah. Well, I remembered it was a great movie. It has an all-star cast. Even the people that maybe you didn't know when you saw the movie most of them went on to bigger and better things. The only thing that stuck with me from what I'd seen before were the dynamics between the two sergeants, the staff sergeant and sergeant. And I remember Sheen's character, Chris Taylor, was a new guy in the platoon and narrated what was going on. So it made a lot more sense to me last night uh, because there was closure on so many plot things. And when you think that the movie ends with Barnes just getting away with it,
Yeah.
and leaving Elias for dead, it's not that would be a little unsatisfying, I think.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So yeah, my first take, man, back in '86, it was eye opening compared to other war movies I'd seen. This just, up until that point, this is so gritty and dirty. It came off as realistic to me. I remember being that senior in high school, 1986, and thinking this seems realistic. Now, how would I know? I hadn't been in the military, right? But
Hmm.
that's what it came off. It just felt like this is realistic to me. And I remember thinking that it was an awesome movie. So,
Yeah.
um,
You could feel the heat, you could feel the sweat, you could feel
yeah,
the ants.
yeah.
I agree. The way that they it was
That,
quite a bit different from like Full Metal Jacket in that
yeah.
I thought it was more of a boots on the ground feel to it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a big part goes to Stone for writing it and directing it because Stone was in the infantry in Vietnam, so he knows he's not trying to figure out what it would be like or what it would feel like, right? So we're going to talk about the main characters here. First, Chris Taylor, played by Charlie Sheen. What did you think of his character there, Mike?
Uh, he seemed to be Taylor was like the idealist, who I assume, and I didn't do a lot of background on it, but I assume that was probably Oliver Stone getting in country, not having been in the military before. So that was back when he was in the army. I swear, for some reason, I had remember Oliver Stone being a Marine. I had that dead wrong. Um, but I thought it was good in that you became Taylor. Like we are Taylor and we're experiencing all this for the first time the way that he is. And like you said, I don't think it could have been much more effective.
Yeah, yeah. I think he did a great job. I think for me, and I know there's a lot of big Charlie Sheen fans, and there's Charlie Sheen haters too, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
my son has just watched this. I think it's a Netflix or something or other. There's a two-part show about him. I did not watch it purposely. Before this, I wanted to just to see what I thought based upon the movie. I think this is Charlie Sheen's best role. He's
Mhm.
young, innocent, idealistic, but very impressionable, right? So it's easy for him to follow people and to sort of, oh, he's liking what he sees with Barnes. He's liking what he sees with Elias and everything. Great job. I remember him from Red Dawn, obviously. Major League is one of my favorites with him, besides this one, because it's just a hilarious movie, right?
Oh yeah.
And Hot Shots, a little bit crazy.
Yep.
And then he was in Men at Work. He's been in a bunch of stuff. So moving on. Okay, we're going to talk about Staff Sergeant Barnes, and I'll start here. This is Tom Berenger, um, and man, this is my favorite character, and because I think he did a great job, and in my opinion, hands down, this is Tom Berenger's best role that he's ever done in his life. He's believable. He's intimidating. Some of the quotes and the way he pulls it off is believing this is this guy. He says, one of them, he says in the bunker there of all the potheads, he's like, there's the way it ought to be and the way it is. So he's just like, tell it like it is, not an idealist, right? And then when Sergeant McNeil is like, man, boss, you got to let me go on R&R. He goes, I got a really bad feeling about this one. I don't feel like I'm going to make it through this one. He just
Hmm.
looks at him and says, everybody got to die sometime, Red. And man, I mean,
Hmm.
he pulls this off like he's just a tough guy. So he was in Major League also, with Charlie Sheen. The Big Chill, he played a role. That was a big movie. A movie called Betrayed was pretty good. He did good in that one where he ended up being like a Klansman or something that gets caught undercover. And then there's a movie called Dogs of War, which I know you said you haven't seen, Mike, but you got to see it because this is when
Hmm.
like a small group of like five guys hire a bunch of bandits and like take over a small country. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So, but as much as I like Barnes, here's the thing: haven't been in the infantry myself. I got to tell you, um, it, like I feel like this is a guy. If you're in his squad or in his platoon, like you're going to have a better chance of coming home alive
Hmm.
because he's just like he said, he's got there's the way it should be and the way it is, right? It was so much, Mike. I'm going to pull this on you that when I was in the infantry, off of a catalog. Remember, no internet back then in the '80s. Looky here. I bought this push knife from a magazine from Cold Steel and carried it with me to the field. So I still have it today. There's no, I wouldn't buy it at this age now, but
Sure.
the push knife scene where he nicks Sheen's face in the bunker when Chris Taylor tries to frag him. He wants to beat his butt, right? So um, great, great character. How'd you like Barnes?
Yeah, I'm with you. He was my favorite character. He had the most complexity. Uh, and this probably wasn't the case, but maybe he started off closer to being a Sergeant Elias way back in the day. But we can look at his face. He's got scars all over his face. That lets you know right offhand. Uh, he's seen some shit.
Yeah,
This isn't somebody that's working on some theoretical concept of something they learned in NCO school. Uh, he's like you said, he's a pragmatist. He does what it takes to bring him and his men back alive. And I remember stories of like a Marine legend, Chesty Puller,
hmm,
and the way that he would go walking through the jungle when everybody else is jumping for cover. He's setting the example, and it's like there's almost an aura around him where he can't be touched. As a matter of fact, Tom Berenger at one point, we the Marines were promised at some point that Tom Berenger was going to play the lead role in a Chesty Puller movie, which never came out. And you said this was Tom Berenger's favorite best role. I'm up in the air about that. It's no Eddie and the Cruisers,
oh
man.
my,
I'm
yeah.
just I'm just he was Eddie and the Cruisers. He was in Sniper, The Substitute. But all joking aside, no, this was absolutely the best thing I've ever seen him do.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
it's almost a shame. I don't even know. I didn't look into who won Best Supporting Actor that year. It wasn't him or Defoe, but it must have
Mhm.
been a great job because he killed this role. He killed this role. That brings us to Sergeant Elias, played by Willem Dafoe. How do you think he did in this role, man?
There are so many things to like about Sergeant Elias in terms of leadership. I remember early on, the first thing I remember, Taylor is new in country. You know, he's never been humping before. He's never been in the middle of it. So he's packing his pack the way they taught him, probably going through basic training. He's like, I know what they taught you. That's not the way you do it, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to help you carry your gear. He's helping him out. That's something that Barnes never would have done. But Elias is still too much of an idealist, and I thought that showed bad judgment in the moment when he kept letting it be known that he was going to report Barnes for a war crime. It's like, hey, whether you should do that or whether you shouldn't do it, you should probably keep that under your hat. I don't know that I would have kept throwing that in Barnes' face, and I think that's why it led to what it did. Uh, Great job though, and I don't want to read too much into this, but that scene where the Viet Cong are chasing him down and he's being fired in the back, and just the kind of character he was throughout the movie, it was almost like this Christ-like thing. He threw his arms up and out and was kind of sacrificed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
again, I know I'm probably reading way too much into it, but in terms of Defoe himself. I know previously one of my favorites, not one of yours, Streets of Fire,
Oh my God.
Wild at Heart,
Oh my God.
Spider-Man. But what do you think, dude?
Yeah, is I remember him in that was the Spider-Man movie. He plays Green Goblin, right?
Yeah,
Okay. I had on my notes here something different, but so
yeah, yeah.
I think he does a great job as the idealistic, righteous, and caring NCO, like you said. If this is not his best, this is one of his best roles still, I think, which is crazy. I'm thinking the top three people here, I'm saying
Mhm.
this is why this movie's so good. It's like almost the best I've seen all three of them, right?
Yeah,
Um, he comes off believable as skilled in war. When he says back in 65, I thought I believed in what we're doing. Like this was 67 into 68, this movie. So I would think he'd be more than an E5 at the time. And I would think really Barnes would be an E7. When I was
yeah,
in the infantry, your platoon sergeant was an E7, of course, and the staff sergeants would have been so I would think he would be that, but hey, I defer to Oliver Stone having been in Vietnam at that
sure.
time, right? Um, so yeah, I think he does a great job. I've got a couple more things to mention down the road about both Barnes and Elias, but we're going to move on just a real quick to Sergeant O'Neill, played by John C. McGinley. Um, this is the guy Red, who he said everybody's got to die sometime. Red, like you're not going on R&R, right? This guy
Uh,
is plays a really good part as a, it's like sort of a kiss ass suck
yeah.
up to Barnes, and sort of thinks he knows more than he does. And he's just trying to protect himself, bottom line. He's not wanting to go on a patrol. He wants to throw the new guys out there as cannon fodder. I think he does a good job. I remember him from Point Break. He was their FBI office, like
Hmm.
the head of the office. And then from Seven, he was like in the chopper. He was like the SWAT commander. He's been in a lot of other things, but nothing really major jumped out at me. How did you think he did?
Yeah. He like you said, he was absolutely the kiss ass. And I think the way that they illustrated it through the movie kept coming up again and again as every time Behringer pulled out a cigarette or a joint or whatever he was smoking, he was right there with a Zippo lighter to light that cigarette. And he realized toward the end he had hitched his wagon to the wrong horse. When he was asking Barnes, like you'd mentioned before, he asked him for that 3 day pass, and he's thinking, "Hey, I built up all this goodwill, I backed you," and he's like, "Yeah, like you said, everybody's got to die sometime."
Yeah.
So great at the character. I also loved him, and he was Office Space. He was one of the two Bobs
Oh, okay.
that came in to clean house. And he was also one of the head doctors in Scrubs.
Okay.
So yeah, good
Okay.
actor.
You're pulling it from TV there. There we
Oh
go.
yeah,
All right. So we're going to move to Lieutenant Wolf. You already talked about this is played by Mark Moses, who I haven't seen in a lot, but you talked a little bit about him already. The LT who's not really in charge. What do you how do you think that role went?
I think he's a typical lieutenant. He struck me as straight out of college. He was smart enough to defer to his staff NCO. But for him himself, he wasn't showing any leadership. It was trial by fire. Uh, if this were a Marine, he would have come straight out of the basic school, which is 6 months of infantry training, where you call for fire, call for artillery. Uh, and that was one of the major plot points was he called in an airstrike, and he's calling in the wrong grid coordinates. So not only is he not taking out the enemy, he's killing his own soldiers. So that's, I can't imagine a more horrific feeling if you're a true leader and you care about people and you realize that that happened. And Barnes went straight to his ass. um, and in terms of him being a leader, when you're a leader, I don't care how you feel personally about things. Uh, I noticed one line where he told one of the soldiers, he said, "I just don't give a flying F anymore."
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can feel that way, but you can't say that and you can't show that because you're the one person that they're looking to. Now, in reality, now everybody's looking toward Barnes and everybody's looking toward Elias, but in theory, he's supposed to be the leader. The only other thing I'd seen Mark Moses in, he played Duck Phillips in Mad Men.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Small little role, right? So,
yeah,
all right. Yeah, I think he played the clueless lieutenant well. I want to go on record to say not every lieutenant in the Vietnam War, I'm quite sure, was clueless.
sure.
Even when I was in the military, um, and went to the Gulf War and everything. And there were some clueless lieutenants. Don't get me wrong, but there are plenty of ones who are completely competent. So, but I will add that the ones who do a good job are the ones that defer a lot to their senior non-commissioned officers, their platoon sergeants, and listen and take advice from them. So he played a clueless lieutenant well. He had no control. And actually starts falling apart big time at the end. Like he's going to cover up the murder, right? He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I didn't see nothing. I don't know what the hell you're talking about," to
Mhm.
Elias. And then at the end, he just loses it. Like you said, he's like, "Yeah, I don't even give a F anymore," right? He's
Mhm.
just falling apart and just he just basically falls apart. He's got no control of himself over there. So um, that leads us that we're pretty much through Chris. We talked that's our main character. Then the leadership, if you could call it all that, all, not with that lieutenant, right?
Yeah.
We're going down to some of the grunts here. King, one of my favorites, right? Played by Keith David. Love this guy. Chris, he gets Chris hooked up with the heads. That's what they're calling, like the pot heads. He
Mhm.
introduces him to that, and he's smoking marijuana and hanging out with the party guys. Elias is in that group too. Um, I love his quote, my favorite quote from
Hmm.
his, Chris says right before King gets shipped off to go home because he's up, he says, man, do you ever feel like you made a mistake that you can't come back from it? He said, man, he said, there's a way out of everything, man. Just keep your pecker hard and your powder dry, and the world will turn. So
Hmm.
a
That's
good,
words to live by.
there you go. So he was in Men at Work with Sheen. He was in the thing with Kurt Russell. We were talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
He was in They Live, where he is actually in one of the best fight scenes ever with Rowdy Roddy Piper
Uh-huh.
over putting on a pair of sunglasses. I don't know. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah.
It's the
That
best.
is an underrated movie.
It's that fight scene is incredible. He was, and then he plays a general in Armageddon. He's very versatile, obviously. So because he can come across as that dirty, gritty guy, and he plays a guy that's from a poor background, not a lot of money, and struggling, doesn't have has trouble writing and reading. They
Yeah.
allude to when he's writing his girlfriend, and then he can play a very he plays a general in Armageddon who's all flashy and put together. So he's very versatile. How do you like King's character
Yeah.
there?
Well, first, I love Keith David anyway. I mean, he's a great character actor. Like you said, he pops up everywhere. Anybody that's ever seen Requiem for a Dream, he was in the remake of The Quick and the Dead. And one of my favorite roles of his, even though it's not a huge role, but he played the stepfather, and there's just something about Mary. Uh, he was, dude, he was so funny. Uh, One thing I will say about him, and I love his voice. He could almost play anything with that voice of his. He's got the coolest voice. Um, I just knew when I was watching it, I was like, okay, this is way too easy. This is foreshadowing because remember, toward the end, he finds out he's going to go home early.
Yep.
And I said, oh, okay. So they're just telling the audience, okay, he's either going to get shot on his way to the chopper or his chopper is going to get blown out of the sky by an RPG. Something's going to. So I was completely wrong about that. And I'm,
Yeah.
I'm glad he made it. I guess he made it home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But good role.
All right, next guy. Cool role for a guy named Ra. That's all you know his name, Rhah, played by Francesco Quinn. How did you like his role there? Pretty cool guy, huh?
He was cool for me, especially since I've only seen the movie, end to end really one time. It was more forgettable for me, but I liked his overall vibe. I almost thought he was going to be your favorite character because he was sort of the philosopher or the spiritualist of the platoon. He had this even keel to him. Uh, I remember early on in the movie, Barnes told Taylor when he got injured, he was like, "Take the pain." And then later on, Ross says the same thing, except he says the exact same thing, but in a total more like mellowed out, almost stoic or Buddhist way, almost like all life is suffering. So just take it because
Yeah.
it's going to come. But no, overall, great job. I really couldn't find a lot else he had been in.
No, no, no. Me neither. Love this guy. I love the scene at the end where he's hitting himself in the chest with the M16 and holding up his. He's got like a staff with a barbed wire wrapped around the end of it. Like I guess it's for his hand to hand stuff.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the heads. He actually saves Taylor. Barnes is about maybe going to kill him. Who knows, right? When they get in when Taylor attacked him, and
Yeah.
he was like, think of it, Barnes. Think of it. You'll be in Leavenworth for
Hmm.
10 years. You'll be crawling up the walls. And so
Uh-huh.
Barnes is like, okay, well, I'm just going to nick him in the cheek with this and get
Hmm.
the hell out of here. So again, cool stuff. So talk about Big Harold. This is a tiny, small role. It's Forrest Whitaker, though, so I had to mention him. Small role. He does good work. He has a few short lines. And of course, I think one of your favorites, he's in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh
He
yeah.
he did a great job in Good Morning Vietnam, and then that was with Robin Williams, and then in one of my favorite movies that's on our list here, he's in Vision Quest, very small role there too. But I think he did a great job for the small role he had. What do you have to say about him?
Yeah. He was a gentle giant. He was a good soldier. He does not make it out, correct? If I remember that correctly.
No, he does not.
Yeah, he got taken out. Like you said, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He was in a martial arts movie. I think it was martial arts, Ghost Dog. I would say anybody that wants to see Forrest Whitaker at his best, watch him as Idi Amin. I believe it
Yes.
was Idi Amin in The Last King of Scotland.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Junior. Junior had a big role in this movie. He stands out to me. He's played by Reggie Johnson. What did you think about how he did in this role?
I thought he was a good representation of, like, we're talking about back when there was a draft, and we'd later find out that Taylor, played by Sheen, volunteered to be there. Most I would say did not volunteer to be there. So he comes across as, I mean, he was funny. He had some great lines. He was not somebody you'd want to go to war with, but he symbolized those that were drafted, did not want to be in the military, let alone be part of this war. And the one line that sticks out for me, he was funny throughout the movie. He was like, "F that honky shit, get me some Motown jams," when they're playing music in the hooch.
Yeah, yeah. I think great acting because you totally believe
Yeah,
this guy doesn't want to be there. This guy wants
yep.
to do as little as possible. This guy wants to get over. He just wants to get out of things. He's like, I don't want to be here. I do not
Hmm.
want to be here. And then even that one time says he's drinking, he's filling his canteen right out of the river they're walking in. And some guy says, don't drink that, dumbass. You could get malaria. He's like, well, maybe I want malaria. Like he's just against every part of this thing. So
Yeah.
I think I haven't seen him in anything else, but totally believable for a guy that doesn't want to be there, right? Which is going to lead me to his buddy in his foxhole at the end,
Hmm.
um, Bunny, played by Kevin Dillon. So, um, man, this is Matt Dillon's brother, correct?
Hmm.
And I think he did a great job playing a psycho. Like the only
Yeah.
other thing I know about him is he played John Densmore, which is the drummer in the movie The Doors. But
Okay.
otherwise, he's been in some things, but smaller parts. Basically, probably really got where he is because his brother had a great success at the time. But he's got some stuff under his belt. I think he did a good job. He's believable as like a guy who doesn't care, who's got like morals zero. This guy
Hmm.
doesn't care. He'll do anything if he can get away with it. In fact, he does murder someone in the village. And it's sort of, he just kills them.
You could not feel any more sympathy than for the one, that fellow. He had what, one leg, like you
Yeah.
said, he had one eye, and he did not even know what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Bunny did not care. He
It,
had
it,
nothing left.
yeah. And this is, I get it. The emotions are high. They just had Sal got his arms blown off and died from the booby trap. And then they had Manny got strung up in the tree and like mutilated.
Yeah.
So these guys are thinking like, hey, and then they find all these weapons. They're like, these people are the bad people, and these people were hiding underneath their hut. So that's he in his young dumb mind. Bunny's just thinking this is one of the bad guys who did this to Manny. That's all I can tell. But I mean, man, no
Yeah.
morals. He plays it good at the part. Like you believe him if you met him. Like you're like, man,
Oh, absolutely.
that dude's crazy, right? So um, all right, a few smaller parts here to mention. Corey Glover playing Francis. He was Chris's foxhole mate in the end there. What did you think about him?
He was an overall good guy. The thing that I took away, he was somebody you could definitely be in a platoon with. Uh, he also didn't want to be there, but he was not, half as bad as Junior. He did stab himself in the leg at the end of the last firefight. Like in the morning, everything has calmed down, and he's like, maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but I took it to be like, how can I get out of here?
Yeah.
Like I survived this, and now I'm just gonna go through a bunch of other days just like this. So I know Corey Glover. The only other thing, I think he was in Say Anything and Judgment Night.
Okay, so Corey Glover, small role. I like the scenes near the end. He's like, "Man, we're going home because if you get apparently you get two injuries, two Purple Hearts. They're in a year's time. That's what the tour was back then. They just send you home. So he was like, "Hey, I'm going home. I got my second one, even though I gave it to myself. Of course, he didn't tell anybody that, right? And
Yeah.
and then in the battle, I love it when they run get out of the foxhole and then Charlie Sheen starts getting that sort of bloodlust and just going crazy in the heat of war and going
Hmm.
going nuts. And Corey Glover gets back in with him, and he's like, okay, he's not a coward. He's just we'll fight this out. This is what it is. I did not know this, but this guy is the lead singer for Living Color.
You are kidding.
No, this is this. I'm telling you,
That
I,
is
I
wild.
double checked my research 10
Yeah.
times. He is the lead singer from Live in Color, the band. Remember Cult of Personality? That was their song,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
in fact, it shows you look him up online and like it shows, oh, Platoon, small part. The big thing is his
Hmm.
discography, all his other stuff. I couldn't believe it, but
Nah.
he did a good job, man. He did a good job.
Sure.
And I liked how he just got back in the fight instead of just running off and bumping into a tree like Junior and getting stabbed right by getting bayoneted. So
Yeah.
I got to add Lerner in here. We'll talk about him. This is played by Johnny Depp. Such a small part. He's the interpreter. Of course, we know him from Pirates of the Caribbean, Edward Scissorhands, et cetera, et cetera. He's selling cologne on TV now, on commercials. He's, I don't know which cologne it is,
Hmm.
but very small part. But someone would kill me if Johnny Depp's in a movie and I didn't actually say his name. So did a good role. Couple scenes. What did you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Not a lot to say. A great actor. He has about equal parts. Great movies and movies I can't stand to sit through. But if you want to see Johnny Depp at his best, Donnie Brasco and Blow are two
Okay,
big ones
okay.
that I would take a look at.
There you go. There you go. Crawford, Chris Peterson. He's one of the dope smokers. How did you think he did? I thought he did pretty well.
I mean, he did okay. Again, like so many of these platoon, one thing they had to do, and I think they, even for these kind of secondary roles, they definitely got some good actors. They seem like they gelled and they bonded as a platoon, but nothing really stands out. I know that Chris Peterson apparently played Bunker in Point Break as a member of Bodie's crew. Other than that, I don't know anything else he's been in.
Yeah, yeah. Cool California dope smoking surfer. And it's funny. Bunker is not in Bodie's crew. Bunker is in the crew that they first tried that he thinks it is before. So the crew with the singer from
Oh,
the Red
wait,
Hot Chili
okay.
Peppers. Yeah, yeah,
Yep. Okay. So they're the ones that kicked Keanu's or tried to
yep,
kick
yep,
Keanu's
yep.
ass out on the beach.
Yeah, bunkers in there. And I thought Peterson did a good job as a California dope smoking surfer, which is basically what he played
Sure.
in Point Break too, right?
Maybe not a stretch.
Yeah, maybe not. So last person I want to talk about here, um, Paul Sanchez as the medic. They just call him Doc. I thought it was a cool role as a medic. He's also one of the heads, the potheads. I don't
Mhm.
know any other roles he was in, but I thought he did a good job when they did have him in roles like when the first guy after the first ambush is
Mhm.
dying, he says, stay with me, don't give up. And I thought he played well there and trying to take care of people. And medic's a very important role there. And so I thought he did well. Yeah, you seen him in anything else?
Nothing that I know of. I mean, he did a nice job. Uh, Army, I believe that you all have your own medical personnel. Of course,
Yes.
Marine Corps, we depend on the Navy for Navy corpsmen. Uh, and I believe you tell me if I'm wrong. I believe the medical personnel can be armed, but they can't. They're at least not supposed to directly engage unless they're engaged.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
they're
Geneva theoretically.
yeah, theoretical. They're definitely in the role as a medic. There's some medics when I was in, I don't know, it's because they just had too much other stuff to carry. They would just carry a sidearm. At the time in my unit, it was a 45. We were
Yeah.
one of the last units to still use the 1911 before the Berettas sort of took over. Some of them, but I knew medics as well who carried an M16, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, it's supposed to primarily be that role of just the medic, right? So what's your favorite part of this movie, man? I know this is a bit you just saw it all the way through for the first time very recently. What, like last night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is fresh in my mind, and it's after it's after Barnes had done the war crime. This is after Barnes had killed Elias, and Sheen is in the hooch. He's telling the other Marines he knows Barnes killed Elias, uh, and they're arguing back and forth because they're kind of coming down on two sides with Elias or with Barnes. Uh, and the scene almost reminds me of one person's internal conflict. Barnes has been outside listening and comes in saying he'd like to hear about killing from those soldiers who were in there talking,
Yeah.
like since they know so much about it. And he's like, "Why do you smoke this shit?" So as to escape from reality. Me, I don't need this shit. I am reality. And I was like, that's a cold-blooded line. He takes a drink of whiskey. Uh, there's the way things ought to be, and there's the way it is.
Yep.
And Elias was full of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Elias was a crusader, and I could watch that scene over and over. And he basically tells him, I said, "Look, there's six of you. You want to take me out? Take me out. Kill me. No, nobody will know." And whether they wanted to or not, maybe Taylor wanted to, maybe someone wanted to. At this point, Barnes, with his scarred face, with the mystery behind him, with what he's willing to do, he's almost a mythical figure
Yeah.
at this point. I think he's one of those that they thought, even if I tried to kill him, there's no way I'd be able to do it. Even if we all six jumped on him, he'd take us out. So it's that one scene, that
Yeah.
whole scene is,
Love it. That's a good scene,
I mean,
man. And
yeah,
I think Ra says it too when they're talking, when Taylor, right before he comes in, when he's overhearing them, right before Barnes comes in, Ra's like, "Man, what are you, crazy? He's been shot 7 times." And he said he's still here.
right,
Like he's like, he's gonna make it through. You're not gonna do nothing to him.
yeah.
I get what you're saying about that.
I will add on one
Yeah.
thing because you had mentioned how uh, Barnes just nicked Taylor right below the eye
Yep.
because Rob was like, "Hey man, do you want to go to prison?"
Yep.
And it was almost symbolic to me that Taylor was Barnes when he started off, and it's like, "Hey, here's your first scar."
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And as Taylor begins his transformation,
Welcome to reality, right?
yeah,
So, all right. Cool. Cool. I love
yeah.
that
How
scene
about
too.
you, man?
That was close. That was close for me to be the scene, but I love
Yeah,
the initial ambush scene when Chris gets blamed. He's still so fresh and new. He gets blamed for falling asleep. He didn't fall asleep. It was Junior.
yeah,
And um and just the way that out of just nowhere, here comes this squad rolling in. Camouflage just coming through, and he's like, "Oh man, what do I do? My weapon's over there on the ground. Where do I have the claymores? I don't have the claymore trigger right with me, and like everybody's asleep. Like, what do I do?" He's freaking, and then all hell breaks loose. I love that scene. I also love the final assault. So I'm leading more towards the action scenes
yeah,
for my favorite. Um, the final assault, it was just crazy how they were just being overrun. It was huge action. Loved it, right?
yeah,
So I want to give an honorable mention though to that opening credits. During the opening credits, when the credits are still running,
yeah.
the humping scene, they're in the jungle, they're going uphill. It's like you said, you could feel the heat, you can feel the ants and the
Hmm.
flies and the man, I'm telling you, like um I remember, I got through basic training, I got through infantry school, I got through airborne school. I get to my unit in Europe, and I'm like, the first thing we do, we go to the Alps in Italy, and
Hmm.
it's like we're like going to be on this short little thing, easy thing. It's going to be like 3 days, and we're gonna do some humping, and
Yeah,
I'm new, and I'm like realized within 10 minutes or less, I'm like, oh, I thought I was in shape and ready for this with
yeah.
all basic training, with infantry school, with airborne school.
Hmm.
I said, I am out of shape. I am barely able to hold on here with and keep up with these guys. Man, and knowing how it was at the start for me, I get that feeling watching that scene. That's what he's going through. He's like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
outrageous. I was in the cold, he was in the heat. But the bottom
Hmm.
line, it's such a great scene. And one part later on in the movie where King is saying, "Man, you just get
Hmm.
through this, get home, and everything will be gravy." We used to say that when we were in the
Hmm.
infantry, not even when we were like in the Gulf War. Just say it, we'd be out in the field for 30 days in Germany, and people said, "Man, we used to say that, like, man, you're not going to have a job harder than this." When
Hmm.
you're sleeping outside, there's no damn tents, there's none of that. You're carrying tons of stuff. It is tough, man. So, honorable mention to that opening credit scene when he passes out and then he passes out again. Like,
Yeah.
it's just it's so true when you first start. Like you think, man, I thought I was ready for this in shape. That
Hmm.
training just barely gave me at the bottom percentile of what these guys are in shape for. So crazy. So
Yeah.
great scenes there. So least favorite part or stupidest scene. I want to start here. You already mentioned this
Hmm.
a little bit. The chase scene in slow motion with Elias getting shot how many times? Like 70 times,
Yeah.
and him being his hands in the air, his hands out to the
Uh-huh.
side. I feel like it was just lasted too long. It was too Hollywood staged for me. Um, I think it could have been better if they just showed, oh look, there he is, and then he gets shot twice, and then they show his body laying, and then Taylor looks at Barnes, and Barnes looks at him back from the helicopter. All this, I just thought it was too much, man, too much for me.
Yeah.
It could have been better, I think. Just too much Hollywood to me. So dishonorable mention. I always want to throw something in here. The
Hmm.
lieutenant shirt. This LT is so clueless and weak. Now he's wearing, when he goes into their hooch, he's wearing a shirt that says Ohio State All-Star Wrestling Team. Now, if
Yeah.
you're like a Division One, if he goes to Ohio State and he's an all-star wrestler there, like, do you know how much of a badass he would be physically?
Hmm.
Like, it doesn't make sense. So that's got to be someone else's shirt, because a guy who's been through like 4 years of Division 1 college wrestling, one of the toughest sports I would argue in the world, especially in the Big Ten division, there's no way that guy's going to be that much of a wimp.
Yeah.
So just had to say that. What
Mhm.
about you? What's your least favorite part here?
Uh, Well, I want to echo something you said. I didn't hate the scene as much with Elias dying in slow motion, but I completely agree with you. And what it puts me in mind of one of the best movies of all time, The Untouchables. And
Okay.
there's a scene where Sean Connery
Yeah.
is getting lit up by the mafia hitman. I think it's Frank Nitti
Yeah.
is the historic figure. Okay, Sean Connery must have gotten hit by like 70 or 80 times, shot all over his body, no protection, and he is still alive when Elliot Ness gets there.
Yeah. And it's like with 45 caliber bullets too.
Yeah, yeah, it would have blown all of his internal organs. He would have bled out. So kind of same concept. I feel you. For me, and this is one of the difficulties with a movie this good is I was really struggling, and the only thing that I could come up with, it's kind of like you said, with a scene with Elias dying in slow motion, where it felt like, okay, they've Hollywooded this up a little bit too much for me. When Barnes was going to kill Sheen with an e-tool,
Yep.
and the airstrike stopped him right at that moment and just happened to blow him off just at that second. That was just a little too easy in terms of resolving the conflict at that particular moment. I realized it got resolved a different way,
Yep. Yep.
and Sheen killed him the next morning. That just felt contrived to me.
Yes. Yes.
That
Agreed.
like, okay,
Agreed.
whatever.
Agreed. All right. All right. So, what additional comments you have about this movie, man, before we get on and give our ratings and all this stuff here?
Well, I know you are big like I am in military trivia. You probably saw Captain Dale die. Are you
Yep.
familiar with him?
I
I'm
am not, but I did see his name on there.
Yeah, I am not as dialed in to Army trivia. One of my buddies, who was also a prior soldier, retired, told me about Dale Dye being the technical advisor in so many movies, and we just watched Rules of Engagement with Samuel L. Jackson, Tommy Lee Jones a couple of weeks ago. So Dale Dye is a technical advisor and an actor in so many military movies, whether it's Marine Corps, Army. So I saw him almost as soon as they announced he was a technical advisor when the movie was coming on. Um, I'd like to give an honorable mention to Tony Todd, who was another soldier. Not a major role for him as a soldier in a movie, but there are probably people who will watch this and remember him as the Candyman in the Candyman horror movies. He was
Oh
also in
wow.
The Rock and The Crow, but this is such an early movie for him. And another thing that lets you know that I had not seen this end to end before, I thought this was a Marine movie.
Oh
when I
man.
first started watching. I was like, no, this is absolutely an Army movie. I thought Oliver Stone was a prior Marine. I had all that twisted.
Yeah,
So my bad.
that's your own marineness, right?
I know.
For
I'm
coming
just
through.
projecting it onto
That's
everything.
that's right. That's right. So, yeah, I'm telling you, for me, I can't speak enough for the depiction of the infantry life. Like when he's writing letters to his grandmother, right? Because his parents are upset that he dropped out of college. His grandmother's, I guess, supporting him, and he's like, "Man, we get up at 5 a.m. We hump all day. We stop, dig foxholes, and it's just like a physically draining life. And you've got to build up stamina to be able to even hang and not like he's like, I think this was a huge mistake. He's writing in letters. I don't know if I could do
Mhm.
this for a year, but he's there. So the depiction in being in the infantry, it is like that. Now I was not in mechanized infantry. If those guys have it
Mhm.
easier, I would think they might, but I was in light infantry and the airborne infantry. And man, it's like, there ain't no vehicles, man.
Yeah.
And you're just out there. So, all right, so I can't speak enough for that. This was filmed all in the Philippines, which I didn't know. And
Mhm.
actually, in 2019, it was selected for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being
Yeah.
culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. Now, a couple additional comments I have. I said I was going to talk about Barnes and Elias quickly. The shot Barnes makes when they're coming into the village, and the guy goes, "Hey, there's a runner down there," and they see a guy. This guy's about 120 yards from what I'm thinking away, maybe 100, let's just say, and he's running fast away.
Mhm.
Barnes is up on top of a hill, has to shoot down a hill at a running man that he just sees, turns around, shoots 3 shots, looks like they make it seem based upon the smoke puffs that he hit him 3 times in the back. Now this is an M16A1 with iron sights.
Mhm.
I'm familiar with the A2. Um, that's a hard shot to make, bro. I'm just going to tell you, there's going to be someone listening to be like, "Oh, I could make that easy." Yeah, I'll bet you. We'll see. Let's go test it out. I think that's an incredibly hard shot. I just wanted to. Every time I can't help but think, man, really? Come on, bro. But
Mhm.
then Elias, when he's coming around by himself before Barnes shoots him, and he's got like 12 guys running at him, full running, and Elias is full running the other way. And he's like easily able to shoot all these guys and kill all this group of guys. Way hard while you're running.
Yeah.
And he even used a little full auto. I remember the
Mhm.
M16 A1 that they were using back then did have full auto um, and single shot. Now the A2 that I'm used to, they took away
Mhm.
full auto because it was like so it wastes ammunition and it's inaccurate because
Yeah.
there's
Just
too
had the
much.
burst function,
Yeah,
right?
so it has the
Yeah.
three round burst is what it had. So, but man, we never even would use the 3 round burst. You just use a single shot. That's so I liked that how Barnes was using single shot, Taylor was using single shot.
Mhm.
I just thought that that's way too hard to pull off. That made him look like Superman. That Elias stuff all there out there by himself. But I
Well,
get it. They're trying to establish that he's a tough guy with experience.
sure. And speaking of the shots, you bring up a good point, and it reminded me, and I had to rewind it just to make sure. When Barnes shoots Elias, he hits him with 3 rounds.
Yep.
And when Taylor kills Barnes, he hits him with 3 rounds.
Is it
And there's
three?
almost like this
Yeah. Back at
like
you.
karmic kind
Yeah.
of thing going on to me.
Yeah. No, I got you. I got you. Okay. So the message, the moral of the story, what's the lesson here? I'm going to start here. And it's pretty wide. I think, hey, man, there's good and evil in all of us. And we have the ability to choose which we let our actions manifest. It's almost like that. I think of the Animal House when there's an angel on his shoulder and a devil on his shoulder, right? We all have that in
Uh-huh.
us, and we have got to make that. We've got to weigh that and say which one's going to be. And it's almost like Elias and Barnes were like that devil and that angel, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is like much like what we see in society today. Chris says that um, at some point in the movie said we shouldn't be fighting each other if we're truly on the same team, so to speak. We should be fighting our common enemies if we have to fight at all. He says something to that effect because the platoon was divided, right? And everyone, the morale was low. He was saying so, and I think the one of the biggest morals of the story or the lessons is it's possible to make it through tough times if you do the best we can not to give up and to do the right thing, have a little luck, and have some good friends to help us through. So
Yeah.
that's what I got. What do you got, sir?
I think you and I took almost the exact same message. I had a slightly different take, but it's right up the same alley. Um, in line with your message with the angel and devil kind of like on your shoulders, I looked at Elias and the he as a leader or as a person, whatever, he's like that stereotypical maternal part of us. He was caring, he was looking at fairness and what's right. He was taking care of people, like that was his priority. Barnes was more, I think of the harsh, stern, old school father figure. He's going to prepare you for what the world is and not, what he wish it was, maybe when he was a kid. So
Sure.
I almost look at it and like when Taylor said at the end, he said, I felt like a child born of those two fathers, but I feel like one of them, Elias, is more maternal,
Yeah.
Barnes is more paternal. But other than that, we totally agree. We're looking at a macro of war, but we're also looking at that micro of those parts of all of us that are constantly struggling.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to add on to that, I'm saying like, wow, like NCOs, non-commissioned officers, are supposed to be taking care of the troops, right? Supposed to be taking beans and bullets, take care of the troops. The officers are supposed to be making those harsh decisions and accomplishing the mission, right?
Yeah.
That's their main focus. Let's do this mission. Here's what we're doing, and then we're going to make sure everyone's able to do it. That's what the NCOs are there for. Um, and they didn't have that with the LT, so Barnes had to take that on, right? So,
Mhm.
but I get you, man. That's well said there. So, overall take on it. What do you got? Overall take on this movie?
I kind of alluded to it before, but although I love Full Metal Jacket, Platoon to me was much more effective in giving you that boots on the ground feeling, what soldiers were going through. It just had a grittier, more realistic feel. Uh, and I was thinking about what is this difference to me? Maybe part of it was because uh, Full Metal Jacket focused more on urban combat. Platoon was more jungle warfare. But I have to give kudos to Full Metal Jacket for the boot camp part, which we don't get any of that in this.
Yep.
But no, fantastic.
All right. Yeah, I love this movie, but I'm going to tell you, anyone who hasn't seen it, it's serious.
Yeah,
This is not a feel good watch.
no,
Like you're not
it's
going to be
hard to
like,
joke about anything with
yeah,
this movie.
yeah, it's not a feel good watch, but there are some great performances. Like I
Yeah.
said, I would argue Tom Berenger, Willem Dafoe, Charlie Sheen, all the three of them, this is their best roles they've ever done, I think. And it's a great story, right? And it's authentic because Oliver Stone was there, right? So I thought it was great. So you watch it or trash it, Mike. What do you got?
Definitely watch it. Like you said, and I know this is a bizarre comparison, but just because we just finished up Lost Boys with the last episode, and you said that wasn't really a horror movie, which I totally agreed with. Platoon is more of a horror movie than The Lost Boys
Oh wow.
because no movies are more disturbing or scary or unsettling or whatever you want to call it than when you're watching something that could or actually has happened. I think of another movie like Silence of the Lambs. How scary is that as a horror movie, even though it's not a stereotypical horror movie? We know that these things in war have happened and they'll happen again and are happening somewhere in the world today.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Yeah, I'm going to say this is a must watch. If you haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen it in a while, watch it again. And I would say this also, this is a must own and rewatch.
Yeah,
So, even though you did it backwards, you owned it first before you watched it. But
that's right. I had it sitting there in the queue.
so yeah, definitely everybody watch it. If you haven't seen it, you have to see this, right? So rating, all right. So there's the worst bathroom break. Don't need to watch. Below average is um, no snacks. Just sit and maybe scroll through your phone. Average, sip a Coke while you watch the movie. Coke and a popcorn is an above average movie, and a Coke popcorn and a box of Raisinets or a box of your favorite movie goers candy would be. This is a great movie, right? So that's our best score. So what's your rating, Mike?
I will go ahead, give it a Coke, a popcorn, and in your honor, a box of Raisinets because of your Army service. Uh, yeah, you just can't do much more with this kind of movie that than Platoon did. It's hard to find flaws in it, and it's a movie you won't forget. It's a movie that a lot of people may not watch again if it
Yep.
disturbs them. Some movies do that, but you're glad that you watched it. Now I could watch this multiple times, but absolutely you should go watch this.
Yeah, yeah, I got you. And so I'm going to agree with you. A Coke popcorn and a box. I'm going to get a box of goobers so we can trade
I like it.
and give half and half, right? So because the goobers is really your favorite. So Coke popcorn and a box of goobers. This is a great movie. There's a reason that it was Best Picture. It was great. So um, uh, awesome job on that movie. So all right. So it looks like we got that one down, Mike. So let's start to wrap up here. Thanks for listening to Gonzo, Mike, and a VCR. If you enjoyed it, follow or subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. We got a couple extra subscriptions there on YouTube, Mike, just yesterday. So
Cool.
if you have a movie you'd like us to watch, or just have a comment, or even if you just want to share a picture of your favorite blacklight poster from back in the
Oh
day,
yeah.
shoot us an email at gonzomikevcr@gmail.com. I'm checking that thing once daily. It's again GONZOMIKEVCR at gmail.com. So additionally, feel free to leave comments on your listening platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple, whatever you're listening on. We appreciate all of them. As we'll respond to those as well. We will be I have added some polls to episodes on Spotify. So if you're there, please let us know your thoughts. For instance, the poll for Breakfast Club just recently closed, and it was 100% of our respondents voted for Bender as their favorite person in detention. So he got all the votes. I don't remember exactly how many votes there were, but he was 100% everyone's favorite character there. So um,
Good taste.
there you go. In our next episode, just in time for the holidays, we're going to leave the 80s for the first time, Mike. Not too far though. We're headed right into 1990. We're going to check out the American Christmas comedy classic directed by Chris Columbus, who you may remember from he started off directing those first Harry Potter movies, and then written and produced by none other than the guy we've run into several times on here, John Hughes. So tell him what the movie is, Mike.
Yeah, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think this was the pinnacle of Macaulay Culkin's acting career. And he hit the top when he was, I don't know how old he was here, 11 or 12, but we're going to be taking a look at the Christmas movie Home Alone.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. It's going to be a good one. Love that. And we'll get that out before Christmas. That's according to Mike, I think, right? So, all right. So, well, folks, we did Platoon today. That's a wrap. I'm Gonzo.
And I'm Mike.
Until next time, keep watching movies. Gonzo, Mike, and VCR is produced by Gonzo and Mike. All rights reserved.